make you feel when the passions of our kids. Late night, you're all alone, feeling the need for pleasure. And you can't reach out to me to drop that pressure. You gon' miss my loving. You gonna miss my love for another day, another day. You gonna miss my loving. You gonna miss my love for another day, another day.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth in Rhythm. I am your host, Scott Dr. Goldfine, musicologist and author of Everything is on the One, the First Guide of Funk. Whether you're watching to the video version on funkandstuff.net or YouTube with other providers, or listening to the audio podcast version, as always, I thank you very much for your continued interest and support. Today, I'm pleased to welcome to the Truth in Rhythm Mothership, bassist, singer, composer Charles Glenn, a founding member of Ozone, one of the lesser known in terms of chart hits, but nevertheless superior funk bands of the early 1980s.
Yes.
In addition to releasing 5 albums from 1980 to 1983, the band worked with stars like Billy Preston, Syreeta, Bobby Nunn, and especially Teena Marie. Ozone's most successful chart hits were Gigolette and Strutt My Thang, but the band also played on Nunn's funky smash She's Just a Groupie. As the years have gone by, funk aficionados have become more dialed in to Ozone's strong recorded legacy, and the great news is that is being revived with the recently released Ozone album called Return of the Jam-I. And I'm here to report that it's funky with a capital F. Glenn also released a solo album a few years back. We'll discuss all of that and more. Charles, welcome, and how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Scott. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining the show.
Man, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Where are you coming to us from today?
I'm in beautiful California, in Rancho Cucamonga, California, out in the eastern part of LA or whatever. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you been there for long, or?
Yes, I've been out here for. I also own a studio. My studio is in Rancho too, and I've been out here for about 18 years or so. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I moved from the West Side in 2006, but my whole life was out there in Southern California. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But Rancho Cucamonga is famous because everyone will say, like it's out in the middle of nowhere.
That's right. And Ice Cube made it famous too with the movie.
There you go. Yeah. Very cool. Well, again, thank you for joining me. Been a fan for a long time, and it's great to finally get your story on the show.
Thank you.
So, where are you from originally, Charles? And how did you first get into music?
I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Country boy. Grew up in the country in Nashville. Attended Maplewood High School. I was, athlete, played on the football team and baseball player and stuff like that. And I was blessed and got to play in the Little League World Series, which I see on ESPN now. It's like a really big thing. And back when we did it, when I got to do it, there was no TV coverage. It was just a trip out of town, a free trip to Florida with some my best friends that I had hung out with all season, and we got to go do that and have fun. It was a way to get away from home, and all our parents used to support us and stuff. So I got lucky and got to do that when I was growing up, and I started this music thing, and it's all took off in a whole nother direction.
Were you more stick or more glove in baseball?
I was actually a catcher, so I was a brains.
Okay.
And I was fast, so I was a base stealer. So if I got on first, 9 times out of 10, I was going to score.
Yeah.
I could even steal home on the kid, because Little League is a little weird, and a lot of pitches are bad, and you know,
Yeah.
and I would take full advantage of that. So.
So when you got pulled to music, what did you start in with? Did you start writing with bass or with something else?
Well, no, I actually I started playing guitar. My best friend Preston Brown, we were growing up. He got a guitar for a Christmas present, and through that whole year, I was so blown away with there was an instrument in front of me. Um, where every time I go to his house, I would pick his instrument up, but I would never really play guitar on it. I just play on the four bass strings because my whole thought process was, well, he has a guitar. If I can really figure out this bass thing, next Christmas I can talk my mom into getting me a bass. We can have a band, and that's exactly what happened. I plucked on it enough throughout the year to have at least made my mom feel like I was serious enough for her to go out and spend money, on an instrument. And growing up, when I was coming up, just go get me a bass just because I wanted to play bass, or I wanted to play today and don't want to play tomorrow. They didn't spend money like that. So they saw that I was kind of serious about the music thing, and I was a pretty decent drummer. I didn't play drums. I didn't call myself a drummer, but I could play drums really good. There was a story when I was about 5 or 6 years old. My mom lost me in a Kmart. Not that she was a bad mom. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault. I snuck off in the Kmart. I saw a set of drums, and she kept on walking around. You know how women, when they shop, they kind of really get into it. And I saw her really into it, so I saw my chance to sneak away, which I did. And I went over to the drums, and when she was looking for me, she saw a crowd of people. She always tells the story. She saw a crowd of people, and it's really funny because she got really worried. Oh no, that my son, what happened? And she said, I'll go over there and you're just killing these drums. She said, and all this crowd is sitting around going, wow, look at this little kid play drums, right? So I always kind of had a thing for attention and all of this kind of thing, And so when I was in third grade, I played trumpet. I grew up playing trumpet. Piano was a major thing in my household. You had to play piano for several reasons. You're not just going to run around and play all day. You got to, and it helped with math. And it was just a thing in my house that you had to learn to play piano. So music was kind of already in me, but something about when I figured out, I picked up the bass, it was something that was natural. I taught myself.
It sounds like you missed out on some limelight opportunities. You didn't get the ESPN Little League, and that Kmart thing would have been a YouTube video for sure.
Yes, it would have been a total YouTube video. Yes. So I've missed a lot of major opportunities of huge success, right? I just keep missing it. But you know what? That's why I keep doing it, because my time is still here and it's still going to come, and in a huge way. And I remember when we finished the new record that you mentioned, my first thought was, wow, we still got a shot at this, because this is still really good. It's not dated. A lot of times guys like ourselves can do music and we can easily, as soon as we play it, we get that's that old music, And I'm not getting that on this project, and that's really a wonderful thing. Even when I play it for, I got a lot of hip hop kids that come here, a lot of rappers and stuff that rap here, and they'll come in while I'm working on it or something, like I'm working on a project or just listening to music, and they'll be, hey King, what's that? What's that, Charles? And I'll say, that's some Ozone stuff. And the first thing they say is, oh my God, man, see, our stuff don't sound like that, man. I don't know Oh my God, that's the way. And they always say, I really wish I could rap to something that has this sound.
Mm.
So, you know, the only reason I think a lot of it doesn't get exposed as a sound is still a sound of today is because no one's doing it. Only because nobody's doing it. You know, I know a story. Somebody mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire was getting ready to do a new project with Jimmy Jam and Terry, and one of the things they mentioned to Jimmy Jam and Terry is, hey, look, make sure that when we do this project, we want to make sure we sound like today. We want to do today's thing. We don't want to be old school. And Jimmy Jam looked at those guys and were like, what do you mean, dude? Y'all are music. Y'all are the music. That's what everybody's trying to be. What you guys are. The best thing to me, even me personally, the best thing to me is be the best version of what we already are. Because what we already are is what music is still ripping from right now to create the new sound, which I love. I love the way music is going, the format that it is. The when people take a sample and make another song out of a really great 8-bar piece of a music that some songs that people have never even heard of some of our albums. Those guys are getting real clever with it. They're not just taking the hit now. They actually are listening to that song 7 and song 8 that's on the album that was really good songs even then, even though, record companies barely put out 8 songs on an album from one group, every song on the album. Didn't too many groups get that opportunity. So Heat Wave got that opportunity. A couple of others, but a lot of times, you get a couple of singles off your record and we're on to album 2. You remember we had 5 albums in 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is on Motown, which is kind of almost unheard of a little bit too, by the way. So we were doing something right also.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get it deeper. We're going to talk more about each one of those in a moment.
Good.
And the new one. And I totally agree with what you were getting at. We'll get more into that too. As far as that authenticity goes.
Yes.
But how did you become involved professionally with music?
Blessed again. My first real professional experience was when I was 12 years old. I was in a band. We were called Deliverance. Now, the really great part about that band, the drummer was 10 and a half going on 11. I was 12 going on 13. The guy that really was the focal point of the group, and he's the one that pretty much organized it. He was 15. He was actually 14, and had just turned 15, so he was the old guy, right? And he was the guitarist. His name was John Green. He's passed away. John, love you, John. But we had this group we were called Deliverance. But the drummer's dad was Bob Riley, and Bob Riley was a manager. He was the manager for the Manhattans, the group the Manhattans. And so he was already a Capitol Records guy, and he had connections in the business and stuff like that. So he was able to get us performances, and we got to open for the Manhattans. So that was one of the things at the Municipal Auditorium. That was a big thing to be 12 years old in Nashville and get to play in the Municipal.
About what year might have that been?
That would have been, oh God, I would have to say 70, maybe like 1 or 70, something like 70, 68, 70, 69 or something. man, I don't know how old I am now. But it was like early 70s, like when we first started, 72.
You were in Nashville. Did you have that country influence at all? Because
Yes, I actually, I credit a lot of my thump bass stuff that I do, because like I said, I taught myself. And I taught myself by watching a lot of guys. And Roy Clark had me glued to the TV. Every time he would pick up a banjo, it was the best
hee-haw.
ever. People don't know funk until they listen to Roy Clark. You can call it country, but Roy Clark is playing some of the funkiest licks you ever want to hear. If you break that down and listen to it as what I said it was, funk, if you listen to it, you'll say, wow, that's pretty funky. Matter of fact, since sampling is so popular right now, I think I might sample a Roy Clark groove and put, you just put me on to something there, Scott.
Well, I think I've always thought that bluegrass with banjo was a little funkier than country itself. But
yes.
yeah, that some of that mountainy kind of stuff actually has some of that rhythm.
So I was a big Hee Haw fan. Hee Haw was a show that we grew up watching. It was kind of our comedy hour, you know. If you wanted to get your laugh on it, I'm a big comedy guy. I'm into matter of fact, in my car, I only listen to comedy. I don't listen to music at all. I might check out a song or something like that just to see if it sounds right in the speakers, but I actually do not listen to no music in my car, comedy only, 24/7.
Well, and I don't know if that is purely your influence, but some of that quirkiness definitely flows through the Ozone catalog too.
Yes, that's yep. A lot of that is definitely me with the little Susie and go put your glass, you know, the glasses thing. Now the glasses concept, that was very interesting because we actually started the whole glasses concept when we were doing Little Susie. If you really think back, because when we did Little Susie, we got to perform it on Soul Train. And when we did it on Soul Train, we actually had on the Ozone glasses. And the whole concept of that was that we were going to go into a thing where you would never see our eyes. We didn't want people to see our eyes, right? It was going to be a mystery. And the guitar player, he killed that mystery on Soul Train because we had this dance step that we did, and he just kept doing it hard and doing it hard because I think he felt like people don't know who I am. So his glasses fall off and hit the floor, and I was like, okay, well, that's the end of that. So, but we did do the glasses thing, and a lot of that glasses, you know, it was a lot of real comedy in that stuff that we were doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're a teenager. You're going to play with some pros, and
yes,
and quite an experience.
I'm a kid making $100, $200, you know, stuff like that is kind of unheard of a little bit.
Yeah, that beats a paper route or a fast.
Yes. Cutting grass. Matter of fact, cutting the grass, my friends, because, you know, when I was 15, I got to have the car and stuff like that. So my friends would all come over and hang with me. And, you know, I always had money to, you know, I'd pay for everything all the time. And my dad would still give me chores. Hey, you know, the grass got to be cut this week. And my friend was like, hey, man, look, I'll take care of the grass. He's going to wash the car. So when we go cruising, the car will be clean. And I'd just be sitting up in the room. And everybody would be just doing everything. It was crazy. I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't pushing. That was just people being my friends, you know. They were true. And they are, you know what? They were true friends because they are still my friends today. And they tell me the stories. Remember how we used to take care of you? Remember how we used to, I wish somebody would mess with you. We had your back. And they wouldn't let me get into any trouble. They wouldn't let me go when they was going to do the fun thing, you know what I mean? Let's go have some fun, let's go, fun was knocking down a mailbox or, or, let's go do something, kid stuff, teenage stuff, They would say, let's go do it. And we'd all get in the car, even when I would not be driving, I'd get in the car with them and I would notice the direction that we were going in would always be a weird direction. And I would say, well, this is not the direction to where you said we were going. And then another block later, I said, oh, they're taking me home. And they would take me home, drop me off. And they would always say, you're the one that's going to make it out of us. So we're not going to be the ones that's going to mess that up for you. Right. Mm-hmm. So they protected me like that. That was and we talk about it still to this day. I mean, my friend Marcus Smith and these guys, and they call me out, Dale Robinson, these guys, they call me all the time. Remember when we used to, and we wouldn't let you do this, and we used to take care of you and all. And it was really, that was a good thing.
Did you appreciate that at the time, or did you feel?
Yes, I actually did. I appreciated it at the time. I didn't feel like it wasn't a cocky thing and, these guys, I can use these guys. No, it was the most humbling experience ever. It really was. Because I felt it was real love. It was true love with those guys as friends.
What kind of repertoire did Deliverance have? What kind of tunes were you playing?
Shoot, we were playing, we would come out and hit like Slippery When It's Wet by the Commodores, and then we would do Love Won't Let Me Wait, Major Harris. We would do Funkadelic, Call My Baby Pussy. We would Loose Booty. I got a park concert story that was really a great story. Deliverance. Now I'm 13. We've been together a couple of years or so. I've gotten really good, popular now in the Nashville. It's kind of easy to be popular, when you do all the major clubs and stuff. And we were able to do clubs at 11, 12, 13 years old because of Mr. Riley, because of Bob Riley being like a parent that was, guidance. So they would let us in, couldn't drink, couldn't hang out in there, but we could go in and perform, I think the Jackson 5 did that too when they were coming up. But we were able to do that. And so we were pretty popular. There was another group in Nashville. They were called North Soul. Okay. And North Soul was really popular in Nashville because they were a family group, the Prestons. So they were brothers. So they were really kind of like the Jacksons, right? Because they were family. And they had their own bus that across the whole side of it said North Soul. So anywhere they went in Nashville, if it was just to get something to eat, they'd get on that bus. That bus was driving through the city. That was a big, big deal. Partridge Family was very big at that time, right? So a group with a bus, they were the Partridge Family of Nashville, right? The Black Partridge Family of Nashville. That's too much to deal with, right? So there was going to be a park concert, and they were going to have the Battle of the Bands, and we were the two bands to battle because we were the most popular. They were popular because they had the big bus. Everybody knew about them, and they were really good. And the bass player, his name was Jerome Preston. He was Michael Jackson that played bass. He sang like him. He danced like him. James Brown, he could do the split. He was the most beautiful bass playing and singing and dancing you ever want to watch. And so that was my competition growing up. I always said, I'm going to be better than him. I'm not, I do sing, but I'm not a singer, really, right? He was a singer that played bass.
Right.
Bass player that sing. Even though he would probably be mad at me for saying that because he's a really, really good bass player. And, but I did do a lot of stuff that I was in competition. He was my competition. So I had to at least do everything that he did to a certain degree. And because I knew my vocal wasn't going to be anything that he was doing, I did other stuff on bass that I knew he wasn't going to be able to do, right? That's how I had to take it. Anyway, we had this Battle of the Band concert. We had to figure out a way, how are we going to top this bus? These guys have a bus. That forget the music. It's about the bus. We have to beat this bus. So what we did, we put the show together and we sat in a room. We came up with an idea. The guitar player, now he's 18. He's married now.
Wow.
His wife is a seamstress and makes clothes. She designs clothes. So she gets in and says, I tell you what, I'll make you guys these outfits. Oh, so she makes us these colorful outfits that were so man, if we wore these outfits now, we'd be clowns. But but the most brightest color outfit. So that was going to be the one up. And then maybe about 4 days before the concert, guitar player comes in and says, man, my friend's dad owns a funeral home. He has a limo, but not the funeral limo. He's got the good limo, right? And he said we could use it, right? And we said we used the limo. So we decided to go in a limo, and that was going to be our way to top this bus. Now, a limo in 1972 riding in Nashville was, unless it was coming from a Belmead or somewhere, right, was unheard of. Limos didn't ride through Nashville. But we did. We had this limo. We were on our way to the concert on the day of the concert. We get to the street that's probably about maybe 2 miles from the concert. 2 motorcycle cops are sitting on the side of the road to do their, write people tickets for speeding. They see us. They pull up beside us. Dude rolls down the window, driver rolls down the window. The police say, who is in the car? He says, I got a band in here. We're on our way to the park, to the Hadley Park. The park was called Hadley Park. We were on our way to Hadley Park. They have a concert. Police says, follow us. Oh my God. They turn on the sirens. Now we're getting a police escort to Hadley Park. Man, it must have been maybe 2,000 people out there. We couldn't hardly get through the park. They drove us through the crowd all the way to the stage. Concert was over. I don't have to say no more. Then we hit the stage. This was our one up. Remember, we had an 18-year-old in the group at that point, right? So now we got a grown-up in our group. We can do Booty, Call My Baby, Pussy, right? We could do these songs because we had the older guy. North Soul couldn't do those songs. They were still ABC, I Want You Back group, right? Boy, when we hit that Funkadelic, we did Loose Booty. When we hit Loose Booty, it was all over. Show was over. Loose Booty. Man, when we hit that, it was over. 15 minutes, 20 minutes straight. Done.
Nice.
North Soul sent them home crying. And you know what's really great about that story? I was telling a partner of mine, I was sitting here in the studio one day telling that story, and I got a message from Messenger from a friend request, and it was bass player Jerome Preston. And I messaged him. We got on FaceTime, right? And my friend was there. I said, hey, tell him about Hadley Park. And I backed up like that. He said, man, don't do that to me. And he told my partner. My partner was like, that's exactly the way he told it. I said, did I make you cry? He said, yeah, you got me.
Wow.
He was bad with that Jackson 5, man. He was Michael Jackson with a bass. He was Michael Jackson with a bass. It was amazing to watch.
Kind of like a combination of Michael and Jermaine.
Yes, it was a Michael Jermaine combination. Yes, it was. I love Jermaine too.
So that's a great story, Charles. I can only imagine. You guys must have been on a high for quite a while after that.
Dude, when the police guy was, because we all thinking, oh God, we're getting pulled over. You know, we're in a car, we're getting pulled over by the police. Now what?
Yeah.
It's gonna mess up everything.
That's like
They
having
were like,
yeah.
They were like, follow us. We were like, what? Follow you? Woo, woo, man, it was crazy. Beautiful. Love it.
So when and how did Ozone form?
Ozone formed. Well, you know, there was a group before Ozone that I actually came to California. That group was called the Endeavors. Now, the Endeavors were 5 steps above Deliverance and North Soul. They were the group that was the hometown Nashville group, but they had the local record out. They were very popular. They were probably gigging 5 times a week. They were performing 5 times a week, if not 7. Somewhere, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, you know, just on the road, totally. And they were a hot group. I'm not sure about the names. They had a song out. I'm not sure about it. The bass player was the lead singer for the group. His name was Little Mike. And the group was coming home from one of the shows. And they owned it. They was another group that had their own Winnebago. And, you know, that was a big deal to have your own transportation. And they had their own Winnebago. They were on their way home from a show. Little Mike, the bass player, he never drove the bus ever. And one day he really complained, you guys don't never let me drive. You guys don't never let me drive. And they let him drive. He fell asleep. They crashed the bus. It exploded, caught on fire. 3 of the guys, I think 2 died, but 1 really got hurt really bad. A couple got burned really bad. And he was one of the guys that died. At the time that happened, the percussionist, Bruce, he was dating my neighbor, and I would see him across the street. Now, mind you, I was way too young to be in that group. I was 15. There was no chance of being in that group. They're going to North Carolina tomorrow night, and they will come back the next morning, right? But they, you know, just I'm in high school. I can't do this, but I felt like I could. I'm like, playing wise. Well, when you know, as sad as I was to hear that come off the radio, Little Mike has just been killed in a bus accident, the Endeavors, and they explained it. The snapshot. Oh God, they're gonna need a bass player. Now I'm 15, but I still felt that. Oh my God, they're gonna need a bass player. That's the first thing that hit my mind. It really did. Oh my God, they're gonna need a bass player. So then when couple of weeks went by, and I saw the congas player across the street. I went over and asked him, "Hey man, you guys gonna still be together? I'm sorry about the accident. This was terrible, whatever." And he said, "Well, they kind of considering keeping it going. It's a very depressing time right now, but they were really booked up. They had a lot of shows, the stuff still left to do. So they were going to put the group back together, but what they did is they had a friend in Cincinnati. They called him up. He was a guitarist, but he was the lead singer. They were more concerned about the lead singing than any of the music bass or any of that. And so they went and got him. His name is Benny Wallace, who actually ended up in Ozone, and I'll get to that. But they went and got Benny Wallace to switch over from guitar, play a little bass, but we really needed him to sing. And they did start back working with Benny. So Benny's in the band. I go over to Bruce was his name, the percussionist, and I say, "Bruce, you guys still gonna be a band, and because you guys are the hottest band in Nashville?" He said, "Oh yeah, well, we're definitely still gonna do it." I said, "Man, you should get me to play bass." He says, "Man, you're 15." He looked right at me. He said, "Man, you're 15." I said, "I know, but I'm telling you, I could do it like that." He's like, "Man, dude, you're 15. We travel. That's all we do, I said, "Dude, I can do it, man. I'm telling you. Let me." He said, "Man, there's no way, man." So I go back like a little kid, back across the street. I see him again on another day. "Bruce, I can do it, man. I'm telling you, I'm good enough to play with you guys." He said, "Man, you're 15. I said, "Dude, please give me a shot." He actually goes and asks those guys, "Look, I know a guy that lives across the street from my girlfriend, and he's 15 years old, but he wants to come and audition or whatever. Y'all want to check him out?" And they said, whatever, bring him by. What do we got to lose?" Best audition in the world. I went over there and I just let them have it. And I ended up in that band because I told him, I said, "My mama let me do it. I'm telling you, if I can get in the band, my mother will let me do this." I didn't really know that for sure. I'm working all ends here. I'm telling them, "Mama let me do it," and I'm thinking, if I can get in it, I can tell Mom, they letting me in the group, right? So I kind of was doing that like that. And it all worked out. I ended up in the group. My mom had only one stipulation. She said, "As long as your grades don't go down and you miss no school, if y'all can figure out a way to get him back here to school, I'm all in." And they did it. And that was like my 11th and 12th grade year. And the year that I was a senior in high school, they were going to move to California, because now we're getting ready to go do the thing for real. We're going to move and shake it now. And so the day after I graduated, I came out here. I joined the band. I came out here and got established, and booked some clubs and stuff. And we started playing around. What they discovered, mind you, all of those guys were already 30, 35. One was already 40. I'm 15. I'm now, by the time we went to LA, I'm 16, not 17 yet. I got the late birthday. So I'm 16 years old, playing with 30-year-olds and 140 plus. And so they didn't see it as profitable as it was in Nashville. Because remember, when we were in Nashville, we were working 7 times a week sometimes. Come out here, maybe 1 gig that week, maybe 2. The money we were making, where everybody was making $300-400 a night a piece and stuff like that, unheard of here. They laughed at us talking about that kind of money. give you $50. You're just playing a club. What do you expect, right? So that woke up the endeavors, the older guys, because they had family, had kids, and I can't take care of my family off this. So we loaded up the truck, moved back to Nashville. Well, not me. I going back to Nashville was the worst move ever for me because I had built this up to, hey, I'm going to make it. This is my shot. I'm going to make it. Well, got back to Nashville, couldn't take it. I immediately got with Benny, said, Benny, we have to go back to Nashville. He said, I totally agree. And so we went around to the clubs in Nashville. I went and got the best horn section from this band I knew that had horns. I went and got this guy that I knew really could sing, which was Billy White. He had this high voice and he could sing the best version of Gloria I've ever heard. And then I went and got the drummer was Paul Hines, I went and got John Green, which was the Deliverance oldest guy, right? The guitar player. I got him. He had just did a gig with Paul, the drummer. He said, man, I just did this gig with this guy. He's kind of a jazz drummer, but he was really good, but he seemed like a cool guy. He's from Indiana. And we asked him, he was just in between places. And we formed a group, and took us about 3 days to find all the guys. And then after we found all the guys, we had to put some money together because our immediate move was to come to California, not to play in Nashville for a bunch of time and then, hey, let's go to California. No, this band was put together to get in a bus or get in a U-Haul and go to California. So we had to raise the money to go to California. We put one show together at a club, had it advertised on the radio. We promoted the whole thing. It rained like there's no tomorrow on that particular day that we put that show together. So we just knew that show was going to be a disaster. So we wrote it off. We was just hanging out in the dressing room. We come out of the dressing room. The club is packed beyond packed beyond packed. It was more people in that club than they ever had in that club. They bought that the horn players from this group that used to play at this club and the so-and-so from this group and the bass player from the Endeavors, and they bought that advertisement on the radio and they came to see this.
Like an all-star.
It was the all-star band we had put together. It was enough money, that one show, for us to go to California. The 3 days later, we got the U-Haul, loaded up the truck. We was on our way out here. Now, mind you, we did have a lead out here because Skip Starkey, who ended up being Ozone's manager, was the guy that was working with the Endeavors, trying to help us get stuff going. So I did know Skip. And Skip was very fond of me because I was the young guy and the action guy. And, so when I did call Skip and say, hey, I'm going to put a band together. I'm coming right back. I have to. This is crazy. I can't believe I left. And so we did put the group together, went back to California, got with Skip, and we started, trying to do stuff that was great. We ended up playing at a club out here, called Century 3000, and that was, I'll wait till you get to that, to us getting to California, but we came out here and that was it. We was kicking.
Well, and so when and how did you arrive on the name Ozone?
How did we? Well, we wasn't Ozone. We were called Blaze. We drove from Nashville to LA as Blaze. We had a seamstress make us outfits, had all this fire on it and stuff, right? Because blaze, right? Fire. And, we were blazing. What happened is when we first we came up with the name of the group Blaze. When we first got together, the very first rehearsal, we said, okay, what's a song that everybody knows that we could play just to get loose, you know what I mean? And not just sound horrible on the very first thing we play together. Well, everybody said, well, I know I think I suggested, why don't we do Funky Stuff by Parliament, right? Guy says, everybody goes, oh yeah, I know that. Horn players, oh yeah, they start, look, how horn players do. They turn around.
Wait,
say,
you
okay,
mean Funky Stuff by Kool and the Gang?
No. Parliament's but you know sometimes.
Oh yeah, do that stuff.
No more of the funky stuff.
Oh yeah, do that stuff.
What is that?
Do that stuff.
Yes,
that
do
stuff?
that. Do that stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that stuff. Do that stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, we were doing do that stuff, and when we ended, and we all knew the Parliament live version too. So we even ended ba ba ba, right? And we just looked around the room like, whoa, oh my God. It was on fire. I mean, it was on fire. We knew that was gonna work. We knew that was it. Just the one song. We didn't have to play nothing else. That was that one song said, that's it, this is gonna work. No rehearsal, never had played together, and we counted it off. Drummer, and as soon as we came in, Scott horns. I was like, whoa, I mean, it was on. This is beautiful. Unbelievable. I knew that was going places, and it did. Went straight to California and got right with Motown.
And so, but the Ozone name again came from
Blaze. We got out here, realized that Blaze couldn't be called Blaze because somebody was already called Blaze. And we had to change it. Had spent thousands of dollars on outfits that had fire in them. What goes with fire? Well, Ozone don't really go with fire, but but it's the closest word we could come up with. The ozone protected, the ozone layer and all this, the whole thing, right? Went to the dictionary and we could come up with nothing else besides ozone that would have something to do with some heat or some ultraviolet rays or something that had something to do with hot.
Yeah. Well, space was real big then, and
and space was real big then. Yes.
Yeah, and Parliament would talk about the zone of zero funkitivity. So this was the zone of supreme funkitivity.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So that's how that ended up being Ozone. We had no choice. We wanted to be Blaze.
You always say I'm lying. I don't know why you think I'm trying. Talking all that trash, talking all that root. Hit me with it. DJ, turn it up. Talking all that celebrity TMZ trash talk. Listen to me. You think you're up when you're really down, trying to figure out just how you really feel. You see that life has given you a chance,